We were pretty famous back in high school.
Trust us. Had a whole future ahead of us, but now we suck.
All that potential now is flowing in the aqueducts.
Through the sands of time, many did forget.
But now our time has come to resurrect. But a podcast?
Sad I know, but can you blame us?
We are desperate to be much more than high school famous. Greetings, students. Welcome into High School Famous. Please turn your textbooks to page 216. Matt, what's our lesson plan for today?
The War of 1812.
Oh, let me do a quick little internet search of that.
You didn't come prepared?
Nope. I'm the substitute. I'm like the teacher's aide. You're the main guy. I'm just a helper.
Since when have I ever been the main guy in this podcast?
Look, you start the sessions. You kind of, they happen when
you start every episode.
The War of 1812 was fought by the United States and its allies against the United Kingdom and its allies in North America. It began when the United States declared war on Britain on 18th of June, 1812. Although peace terms were agreed upon in the December of 1814 Treaty of Ghent, the war did not officially end until the peace treaty was ratified by the United States Congress on the 17th of February, 1815.
Oh my God, 3 years?
That's, whenever I think
call it the 3-year war.
Well, whenever I think about something like that, or, when World War II was declared over, or when the Civil War was declared over, some of the people that were negatively and very unfortunately affected by those conflicts remained in their situation months or years after the fact.
Right.
Right? And don't you think, man, that had to have sucked. To even be someone who was killed after the war was declared over. You know what I mean? Like
fighting was still happening even though the war was over?
No, I'm talking about people in, say, concentration camps or, former slaves that were, they continued to be treated as slaves months, years after the war was over.
Right.
Just how much that would be like, why I would sit there and go, it's done. It's done. Why am I not out of here now? Instantly. Why am I not
say they even knew?
They might not have known.
Yeah.
That's true. But then to find out, like, let's say they survive it. Mm-hmm. To find out, oh yeah, no, the war, we ended that 2 years ago. And you're like, you kidding me? I was still treated this way for 2 additional years of my life?
Yeah.
I would you be someone that's just so thankful that you are out of there and that situation is over, that it doesn't matter? Or are you going to be like bitter and pissy because it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Because I guess I'd probably just be okay with like, oh, I'm free now. Because those 2 years, I had no idea anything was any different.
Sure.
So it was just 2 more years as usual. And then to be suddenly like free or let go or whatever, you're like, oh shit, okay, I'm here now.
For World War II, didn't Germany do like, hey, this is ending, let's just pump a whole bunch more of these people through and basically end them before people come to set them free? I don't know why I'm thinking that.
I don't know those facts to be able to speak on that.
So, Matt, I think
it wouldn't surprise me.
You can let me know if you want to cut this out or not. We can discuss this separately after the show. But I think that we might need to issue a cease and desist letter to the folks of the Apropos of Nothing podcast.
Okay.
I just listened to one of I think their second most recent episode, not their most recent episode. Mm-hmm. But Salsa at the beginning said that that they're going to talk about things and stuff, and he said it with enough pause in between that I was waiting for him to say, and probably high school. because that is what we declare that we talk about on our show.
I mean, in writing, I don't know if we've ever said it out loud.
Well, isn't it having it in writing even more of a reason?
Oh, I'm just saying. Yeah.
I mean, yes.
I feel like making a declaration, I guess, to me seems like something you say out loud. But I mean,
okay.
The Declaration of Independence is written.
I was going to say, so you're going to say that any contract should be just verbal instead of written and signed?
Yeah, it's easy to get away with stuff that way.
Look, the way we have it now is anyone who, without even listening to a second of the show, still has the ability to know that we plan to talk about things and stuff,
right?
And probably high school, although not very probably. But so that is, they don't even have to listen to a microsecond of the show to be able to have that knowledge about the show.
True.
So, and yes, is it a little unfair that to say that we plan to talk about things and stuff is so broad and generalized that it's like, well, how can anyone not talk about things and stuff? That's not fair.
As long as they don't declare that they're going to do that.
They
can talk about all the things and all the stuff they want.
Exactly.
As long as they don't say that they're going to be doing it.
I think that Salsa made a point to scare us a little bit by declaring almost verbatim that they're going to do what we declare that we do on the show. Not to mention that, and I have to look at the timeline. This might not hold water because this might not, timeline-wise, it might not line up. But I know in a recent episode, maybe it was even the last one, where I said something about, we were saying gender, and I said, I think I prefer the pronunciation of gender because of the whole GIF thing. And in that same episode, they made a very similar joke.
Wow.
And so it's just like they're all over us right now, and I think that we need to put a stop to it.
Are you suggesting we kill them?
No, if you heard me at the beginning, it was to issue a cease and desist letter.
I thought cease was short for deceased.
And desist is short for?
Dismember.
Remove assist. Dismemberment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you thought that cease was short for deceased and not something like cease to be.
It's the same thing.
Right, I know that, but it's a much more in line with the word itself.
Well, whoever came up with the saying did not think that way, apparently.
They didn't.
No.
You have yet to really tell me if you think we should move forward with my plan and not your plan.
To kill them?
Nope. My plan was never...
I thought your plan was to kill them.
I clarified, though. So now I'm asking you how you feel about your new understanding of what my actual idea was.
I still don't know what cease and desist means. I thought it meant deceased and dismemberment.
But again, I said cease and desist letter. So what part is confusing you about the term letter?
Letter is like a blood letter, somebody who removes your blood.
This is clearly something we're going to have to cover after the show, so that
and we're going to have to dig a little deeper into this.
So that you know that my initial thought to deal with this is not to end the lives of 3 people.
Not to kill them, dismember them, and remove all their blood.
Remove them of their blood to be used in a way that we see fit at a later time.
Yeah. To feed hungry vampires.
Yeah, well, that's any vampire. I've never met a vampire that's like, I am stuffed. Put me to bed.
You're meeting
Mildred.
them. The best time to meet a vampire is when they are stuffed.
That's what I'm saying. But still, I've never met one that is. I don't disagree with you.
Dangerous. You put yourself in dangerous situations.
I'm not putting myself in any of those. So let me just tell you this. A vampire is less likely to approach me if they are not hungry. So that's when you're going to encounter a vampire.
Because you have a shitty personality. You have to give the vampire.
Put myself out there more.
You got to make the vampire want you for something more than your blood if you want them to come to you when they're not hungry. You have to be a little bit more, interesting of a person.
Do you think I'm just maybe too defensive when they show up? I'm holding up my garlic and my wooden cross, and I'm threatening to end their unlife if they come any closer. And I never invite them in the house, which maybe they get offended by.
I'm guaranteed they do.
So how about what I'll say that I can do on my end of the bargain here, vampires, is I will, if you approach my door, I won't invite you in right away, but I won't necessarily threaten to end your unlife. I will take a moment to get to know you a bit and understand what your motivation is for the visit. And if it seems like you've recently fed off of someone else and you have no desire to feed off of my blood at that time, I might invite you in for some scones and a game of checkers.
I was curious as to how that word was going to end. It was a weird pause after check.
It was because I think I meant to say chess, but then I hit the eck at the end, and I'm like, I better finish this off with an ers, even though I don't have checkers pieces. We can just, I guess, use the chess pieces as checkers pieces.
I mean, anything can be checkers pieces. It's pretty
I can just
simple.
cut the tops off of all the chess pieces and return them into checkers pieces and then glue them back later. That's no trouble. It's a vampire. I mean, I'm going to be a good host.
Right.
Yeah. So what's your plan to get more vampires attracted to you?
I've already like made tons of vampire friends.
Yeah.
You were the one we were having issues with. You were the one who was like standoffish towards vampires.
So whenever I came around, they're like, "Oh, why is he here?"
That's why you've never met them, yeah. Because they know you're coming and then they leave because they're like, this guy, ugh.
So
off-putting.
I tend to think that you don't have many friends or any friends that you regularly socialize with.
It's only because you've never seen them.
Right. So am I here to understand that you are only friends with vampires that dislike me?
I have so many vampire friends.
Right. So
and they all hate you.
But why do you think that you befriend so many vampires, not just living humans?
That's a good question.
That's why I'm a good reporter. Interviewer.
I don't go out into the sun because I'm a redhead. So we just kind of naturally we had like this thing in common, so we just kind of hit it off like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
I can see that. So is that very common amongst the redheaded individuals?
I can't speak for all redheads.
Okay.
And I won't.
You were, of course.
But yes,
they'd be overstepping to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, redheads tend to make friends with vampires very easily.
But even
not
though
to
you
speak
said
for
you
all
weren't going to
redheads,
speak for them, you just said that.
Not to speak for all redheads,
anyway.
But from my experience, yes.
Very well. Very well. So why not someone like me then? Like what is it? Is it because I'm not a redhead, or are there other factors as to why your vampire friends have not been very warm to me?
Sean, we don't have enough time.
They can't be very warm. They're cold.
We don't have enough time to go through the list of problems that you have.
I don't need for us to go
general.
through all of it. We could just cover like the big ones, the top 5.
You smell bad.
Do vampires have a sense of smell?
Yes.
Of course. Is it
of all the things you've ever heard of vampires, sense of smell does not come up of like, oh, they can't smell. That's a trait of a vampire.
Look, I will admit, unlike you, I don't socialize with a lot of vampires. So that means I don't know much about them. I know what maybe is been embellished or is completely false in media, like books and movies. So I have very little to go off of.
How do you know it's false?
I am saying it could be false. Like,
I mean, so many books, like almost everybody gets vampires the exact same way. So it can't.
I saw Twilight.
That's why I said almost everybody gets vampires the exact same way.
Well, then this is another thing you can provide. So you're going to provide the other examples, the other big ones as to why vampires don't really care much for me. At least the ones you know. I mean, there may be others that
don't like the way you look.
Okay, well, let me finish this first. when we're done with this, then you can go off of some common misconceptions people have about vampires, since you're in so tight with that group. Do they think you're a vampire? Did you explicitly say I'm not a vampire to them? They're like, he's pale and he avoids the sun. He must be one of us.
No comment.
Okay. All right. So anyway, what about this? What was the second thing you said? The way I look?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty petty, right?
Don't
you think? I mean, a vampire.
The whole world is everybody judges everybody on the way they look.
Yeah, but I think vampires would be like kind of be above that.
Nah,
like, they live
they're swiping
forever.
left on you.
They're not going to be hung up on such petty, superficial, surface level nonsense. And is it the way I like, as in my physical appearance, or is it like how I dress and how I style my hair, for example?
It's your face.
It's my face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't see that coming at all.
Then why, if you saw that coming, Sean, then why did you have to ask me?
Well, if
you already knew the answer, why are you asking me these things? It sounds like you already know why vampires don't like you, and you're just trying to project this onto me.
No, or
you're just trying to get confirmation.
A podcast is not good if the two hosts just simply use telepathy to communicate. Like I needed to say it.
We're definitely not doing that.
I know, but I needed to ask the question verbally so that you could answer it verbally, so that the listeners.
No, because it sounds like you already know the answers. That's why I'm saying,
sure.
Why are you even asking me?
Sure, but I'm not going to list them off because again, I don't want to make assumptions.
Hurt your own feelings.
No, I don't want to make assumptions about vampires. If vampires already don't like me running around making assumptions about what their reasoning is behind things is going to make my chances even less of befriending the vampires.
Yeah, that or they'll feel bad if you list all these things and they're like, well, no, it's not those things. Like, oh, now we feel bad. He thinks it's these things. But it's really not. It's these other much harsher things.
How do you know what I would have assumed? So it's my smell and my appearance.
Those are the two biggest ones.
The two big ones, yeah.
Yeah. Then there's also your financial status. They hate that.
They only want to.
They only like biting the necks of the rich.
But they haven't bit your neck yet. So you must not be the rich. Either.
I'm definitely not the rich.
Well, then why is your financial situation better than mine in the eyes of the vampires?
I think it's inappropriate if we go there. We don't need to talk about. We don't need to bring up our financial statuses on here, Sean.
But you can mention mine as a reason that they don't like me.
I'll cut it out. I'll cut that part out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to go off of those are the big two, and
yep, those
we're going to
three.
Leave it from there. Well, and, if you're cutting out the financial one, then
what did
I do? Cool. So now it's your opportunity to lecture the public on the common misconceptions about vampires. What do we get
misconceptions? Wrong? I think everybody's getting it pretty fucking right.
Okay.
Other than the Twilight glowy skin shit, like everybody knew that was just for fun.
Okay. You have a bit of a history with improv, right?
Yeah, but I'm tired of talking about vampires.
Oh. Oh, don't let them hear that. You hear that, vampires? After less than 20 minutes, Matt is sick of talking about you guys. After under 20 minutes.
Hey,
so think about that next time you want to hang out with old Matt Schlegel.
Here's the funny thing, Sean.
Potential child.
Vampires aren't real.
Oh,
we made all this up. This is all fake.
Oh boy, vampires, listen up. He's like,
it's funny what you choose to just like.
You're like, I've got one misconception about vampires. They exist. Cool. Let me check Discord. Okay, so far nothing. So we're gonna move on.
I didn't even honestly see that. I didn't even see the post.
Oh, there it's totally there.
There it is. Yeah. No, I didn't. I don't know why we even got I vaguely remember how we got on to talking about vampires, but I was not expecting us to continue to try to talk about vampires for that long.
Why do you dismiss that is a possibility? And you know us. You know our history. That we would
talk about it a lot.
Yeah, we can
run. Neither one of us would really have that much to say about vampires.
Well, you don't, and you're the one who's friends with them. I was trying to get more information about them from you, and you're like, yeah, they got it all right.
So here's the
People
thing,
have
Sean.
nothing wrong about vampires. I'm
thing.
done talking to them because they're not real.
Here's the thing.
Yeah?
I lied.
About
being friends with vampires.
See? You wanted to seem cool.
I was trying to make you jealous.
Because since I've only seen vampires in TV and movies, this is all I have to go off of, so sorry if I offend any vampires. But they all seem pretty cool.
Why would you say, sorry if I offend any vampires, and then follow that up with, they all seem pretty cool? Who's going to get offended by that?
Well, you know what? Some very cool vampires are like, hey, you better stop saying that.
They're like, hey, not all vampires.
There are some loser vampires out there. With horrible financial situations. I think
even the cool vampires would understand that compared to you, even the really shitty, lame vampires are pretty fucking cool.
You know how I know this is all fake? There's no way that we live in a world where vampires are going to think you're cooler than I am. Just because you got your beard and your hat and glasses.
What are you talking? I told you already I was lying about being friends with vampires because I wanted to seem cool. I was trying to impress you.
What do you think? Do you think you think our like status would climb up a few points if it was known that we are in with the vampires? Like they accept us and they
maybe
invite us
under
to their
like
nighttime.
Maybe a certain group of people would think we're cooler.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be people that are like now worried about us, and we're on some sort of a list.
Yeah,
like we don't know what these guys are capable of. They're probably now vampires themselves. Who hangs out with vampires and doesn't turn? I've never known of anyone.
A familiar,
except for what does that mean? What's a familiar?
Person? Basically, it's a familiar for a vampire is just a person who they keep around to like do things for them.
Oh,
so like, have you? I'm trying to think of like probably haven't seen like a lot of different types of vampire movies and stuff. Vampires aren't really your thing, I don't think, which is probably why they don't like you. But like, for instance, did you watch the movie Renfield?
No, I wanted. Is that the Nicolas Cage one?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I really wanted to see it because the trailers look pretty awesome.
Yeah, Renfield is Dracula's familiar, so he will go out during the day and get stuff. He'll go collect, like he'll go get people for Dracula to feed on and stuff like that. And then in doing so, like he gets like special like abilities and shit that
he rewards
Dracula,
for
gives him and stuff.
Good deeds for doing a good job. He's a gopher, and he's like, "Hey, oh, thanks." You know, it's like every year he gets a Christmas ham from Dracula.
A Christmas ham, Dracula?
No, a Christmas ham from Dracula.
Oh, from Dracula. Okay.
Like, oh, thanks for your hard work.
I don't know what
a
Christmas ham Dracula is.
No, it's like here's thanks for your hard work and dedication this past year, Renfield. Here's your yearly bonus, your holiday bonus, a nice big Christmas ham to take home to your family.
Yeah,
and have a good old feast. You know.
And then his family's like, oh, another ham Dracula.
Great. Thanks a lot for that ham Dracula. What is a ham Dracula, Matt?
A vampire pig?
Now, there's only one Dracula,
or a vampire
right?
boar?
Perhaps.
Well, there's one vampire named Dracula, I would assume. Yeah. Count Dracula.
Yeah, so why would every vampire pig or boar or warthog or whatever be called Dracula pig?
I think Dracula is just, it's a fun thing to call things because everybody would immediately know, like, I know that sounded stupid.
You see that guy over there? What a Dracula.
I mean, it's just a fun play on words to call something that you're trying to like be like, oh, it's like a vampire thing, but you just add Dracula to it to make, and then people would immediately understand what you're saying by just calling it a something Dracula or.
Gosh, Susie's always up all night. She's such a Dracula.
Yeah.
Gosh, Matt, your cats keep overflowing the litter box. They're such a Dracula, both of them.
Oh, she just got her period. What a reverse Dracula.
She's letting
after that.
Not like
Delicious.
delectable. I can't wait to sample some of that. No, not that kind of. She's bloodletting. Back to the whole bloodletting. Is that how we got on this? Bloodletting? Anyway.
Possibly.
So I want to, apologize to anyone who may have been expecting this episode 215 to be up on YouTube Tuesday. It didn't happen. I had a bit of a weekend, as it were.
Yeah, you told me you were going to explain this.
Yeah.
You had told me a couple hours ago that you had just got the episode up.
Right.
And I said, oh, I didn't realize it wasn't up.
Right.
Because I don't pay attention to that stuff at all. And then, you told me you'd go over it. So let's get it over with.
Let's go over it.
Let's go over it and get over it.
Let's go over it and get over it. So this is what happened to me.
What?
Saturday night going into Sunday morning about 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, so did you specifically not tell me about this because you wanted to bring it up on the show?
Kinda. I mean...
So what a weird world we live in. That we're like, let me keep this really big piece of information from somebody because I want to use it for content.
Well, I mean, it is something to talk about.
Well, yeah, obviously. Holy Christ.
Yeah.
So you said around 4 a.m?
It was, it happened at about 4 a.m. Going into Sunday morning last weekend.
Okay.
I was out with a couple people just having some fun, and then
people I know or don't know.
No, 2 of my coworkers.
Okay.
And
because I'm like, how do these people I know also kept this a secret from me?
No. And it was sort of in the what's the main Matamidi? Some weird pronounced city in Minnesota. We were up in that area, and we definitely hung around long enough in their car for me to feel completely okay to drive in the regards to consumption of stuff.
Okay.
So that wasn't what was going on. What I didn't think of the fact that it was, at that time about 3:30 in the morning, and I had a 40-something minute drive home, and I was going to get quite tired, and I have the tendency sometimes when I'm very tired to, it's very easy for me to just fall asleep. You know this about me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 4 minutes away from home, I guarantee you I nodded off for a split second because just me leaving the pavement, like the road, and going onto the slight bit of gravel before the ditch is when I was like, oh. And I opened my eyes up, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna go down there." So I just, slammed on the brakes as best I could, but I was already started to kind of go over the edge,
right? So
I'm sure my tires had no grip whatsoever, and so I just went down in, and I started approaching a tree, and luckily, I think this is the only reason I actually walked away from the whole thing. The tree did not stop me.
Okay.
I completely took the tree down. So the back window was all smashed in because I believe that I hit the tree. The tree got knocked up from the bottom up. The bottom went up in front of me, and then the whole tree fell backward and hit the top of my car and knocked the back window in, and then fell to the ground after that. So I didn't get my face smashed into the airbag or anything like that.
Right.
I was completely awake and holding the wheel and foot still on the brake and just trying to go, okay, well, let's just get through whatever this is going to happen.
Right.
I can't stop any of this now. And I just slowed to a stop after I went through the tree. Airbags all deployed everywhere. All of a sudden, I'm talking to 911 because my car had an SOS thing on it, so it just calls the police when it senses a crash. And they showed up, and they checked me out. They said, "Do you think you need an ambulance?" I said, "No, I feel completely fine. I don't feel actually anything." So I'm not sure if it was adrenaline or not, but
Probably.
I definitely didn't seem like I had any broken bones, or I was able to walk. I was able to get out of the car on my own. I actually got out of the car before anyone showed up. And then got back in. But yeah, so that was that. And
did they suspect that you had been drinking?
They asked me. I said, yeah, a couple hours ago I had a couple. And so they had me go on the road and do the whole walk forward and my hands to the side and turn around and do that. They had me follow his finger with my eyes while holding still.
Mm-hmm.
They had me hold one leg up with my toe pointed up and count up from like 1,000 to 1,000 until he tells me to stop. They did breathalyze me, and I cleared all that. They said, you're not above legal limits, so do you need a ride home? Do you want an ambulance, or do you want just a ride home? And so I just got a ride home. The whole time I'm just like hating myself and just hating the fact that I let this happen. And I felt so like, this has been a slight point of contention here and there in my life where people are worried I'm going to fall asleep at the wheel. And so I'm just like, here, I'm just going to hear it. I'm going to hear it now,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm not going to fucking, I give you shit when you fall asleep on the couch.
Right.
I'm not going to give you shit for falling asleep in the car because obviously, there's one thing about like, hey, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to lay down. Oops, I passed out on the couch. Because you're fucking laying down, you're comfortable, you're in a position of like, who cares if I fall asleep?
Right.
Yeah, driving, no, that's fucking crazy. And I'm not going to be like, oh, Sean fell asleep behind the wheel. Oh, hilarious.
Sean,
like,
up to his old tricks.
How many times driving back from your fucking house back in the day through those fucking little countryside streets and shit, like I've almost fell asleep in my car a bunch of times. There was times where I would basically all of a sudden just be like, how the fuck did I get to this point in the road? Like there was like 10 minutes of driving I don't even remember.
Well, do you think that's dozing off? Or because I've had that too, where it's not at all that I'm dozing off. It's just that you have that muscle memory of you almost go on autopilot because you've done that drive so many times.
I feel like it's probably autopilot to the point where, but like I like feel like I've zoned out for like minutes on end, and I'm just like, all of a sudden I'll just kind of come to and just like there was like turns that I've had to make. Like it's not like just straight driving. Like I've had to like switch from one road to another. Like how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah. So
yeah, driving tired is the worst.
So the next day I had a 1 hour window to go to the tow place that my car ended up at to like gather all my stuff out of the car. And so my car called the police when I crashed.
Right.
And like, I didn't know because my phone
fucking narc.
Yeah. Shut up. But my phone is always connected to the car on CarPlay too. So, but I didn't know if it was my phone because your watch and stuff has like crash detection. So my watch was going like, we detected a crash. Do you want us to call the authorities? But so I didn't know if I was talking to them through my phone or just through the car itself. Right. So I put my earbuds in so I could get out of the car and still be talking to the person. And so I put my earbuds in. Got out of the car to kind of just step out and look at what's around me, because when all the airbags deployed, you can't see outside the car anymore.
Yeah, to try to tell them, like, I mean, yeah, because do they know where you're at with that and everything too? Like, does
they can use GPS, but I did tell them like what road I was on and stuff like that. But so I either way, I get out of the car and I notice that the sound of the person I'm talking to is still coming from the inside the car and not in my earbuds. So I'm like, well, it must not be through my phone then. So I got back in the car, and this is before the police showed up and everything. But I just noticed that in doing that, my left earbud had fallen out of my ear at some point. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess if I find that, great. If I don't, I'm just not going to have a left one anymore.
Right.
So I go home. Try to get the tiniest bit of sleep, or even, just try to get myself together.
Right.
Next day, I take a Uber to the tow place, and I also had my dog is still having digestive problems. It seems to be better now, but anyway, because I took her to the vet. Blah 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 blah. So I leave to get the stuff out of the car, and I'm looking, and it's the location of my earbud is saying it's at the crash site. I'm like, it must have fallen out of my ear and like fallen into the ditch right next to the car.
Right.
Because that's the last time I picked up a location. So I go get my stuff out of the car. I get picked up by another driver to go home. And I said, hey, do you mind, like, we're on the way to my place. We're going to be driving by this place where my car went off the road. Do you mind if we stop for like 5 minutes and I can make my earbud make a noise to see if I can possibly find it?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't find it within a couple minutes, I'll just give up. He's like, no, that's fine. I can do that. So we are starting to head there. And then I noticed that because of where we came from, it's actually having me come home the opposite. You're having me enter into the complex from the opposite way. And I'm like, oh, never mind. We're not going to end up going by there. It's the other way. And he goes, oh, well, how far is it? So we start to go that way. He was willing to just take me the little bit extra to it. He must have just been nice and
nothing to
not
do.
have a whole lot of, not having a whole lot of other stuff to get to.
Yeah.
But so I start checking my phone just to make sure we can stop, approximately at the right spot. And now it's saying that my earbud is at the towing place. And so I'm like, oh, well, never mind. It says it's there now. So my guess is when I went to go get my stuff out of the car, it found the location of it and updated it to be at the towing place. So it's probably actually in the car.
Right.
So I get home and I'm just kind of like figuring out what I'm going to do with, a car, file claims with the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Another funny fact about all this is I had switched my insurance companies. I was with one insurance company. I went and found a cheaper policy at another insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
The crash occurred on March 2nd. My old policy expired on March 2nd. My new policy was in effect 12:01 a.m. March 2nd. So it was like, am I still technically covered under the old policy on March 2nd? Or am I only covered by Progressive or the new company? I didn't want to name names, but I guess whatever. It was Progressive, the new one. So the cop was like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a gray area. So just file with both. So the old company said, hey, turns out your policy expired at midnight on March 2nd. So we don't cover you anymore. So this is not covered by us.
Of course.
So
even if it,
if I was
1 a.m, they would have still been like, no, yeah, it's not with us anymore. It's with the other guys.
Right. So I start a new auto policy with a different company, and 4 hours into my policy, I completely destroy my vehicle. So anyway, so I'm dealing with all that. And then I'm like, I also remembered that I forgot to get my garage door opener out of the car. So the next day, Monday, I'm like, I'm not going to work. I even know.
Well, yeah, at that point, you got
needless to say, Sunday and Monday, I was not in any mood to be editing a podcast and like,
oh no, yeah,
having a chuckle fest at our silly asses.
The thing is like I never like question or bother, because like the funny thing is a lot of times you do just put it off till the last minute anyways when you're doing your edits. Not all the time, but like occasionally you just be like, well, it's Monday night, I gotta finish up the edit, or it's Sunday and I put it off until Sunday to do it, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
Well, I have my son every other Saturday, and I don't want to spend a Saturday with him just editing for a couple hours.
Yeah, like I said, I don't question it. Sometimes, I mean, because obviously there's days where we record.
Just putting it off.
No, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I don't mean it to sound like, oh, Sean's just not gonna fucking work on it till the last minute.
He
but
could
like,
easily do it sooner.
There's days where we record the Tuesday before we're gonna release, so you have a full week, and there's some weeks where you just knock it out during the week and get it done super ahead of time. And then there's other times where you just like either have other things going on, or you just like, I'll just put it off until a little bit later. So there are some weeks where you are doing it at the last minute, but it's probably because you have things that you're doing. I'm not saying like, I'm not saying you deliberately aren't doing it until the last minute, but so there are some weeks where it does get done at the last minute. So that's why I never question like the fact that you hadn't gotten it done yet or whatever. But it was, like I said, I had no idea it wasn't even up yet until you mentioned it. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize got put up that late.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the long run of things, like most of the first so many episodes were put up weeks to months after they were released originally. So
right,
a week late, not even a full week late. Who gives a shit?
It's a few days, but Monday comes around.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I got to go back and get my garage door opener and try to find my earbud. So I get another. This time I'm using Lyft because it ended up being cheaper.
Yeah, it's weird. You can kind of go back and forth on them and find out which one's cheaper sometimes.
So I take a ride to the place. I also arranged to bring my dog into the vet because I'm like, this is not fixing itself. I need to see what's going on, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, well, with today being today, all we have available is like you can bring her here in the morning and then just leave her here, and then we can check her out when we can, and then contact you in the afternoon with what we found and any treatment suggestions and things.
Cool, she can shit at your place for a while. That
kind of works out, yeah. I said, are you sure? Because this is what she's doing, so are you okay with just having her for that long? Because she might just make a mess. He's like, yeah, don't worry. If she makes a mess, we'll clean it up. And
yeah, I'm sure they're
also
going to deal with that all the time.
Yeah, and they're going to want a sample anyway to test and stuff.
They're like, we hope she takes a shit.
Yeah, please.
Are you kidding me?
Bring her
Best
as she's
scenario.
In the process. Yeah. So, so I go back to the tow place. I say, hey, can I look at my car again? I left a couple things. Oh, sure. Oh, also one of the guys that work there, they must get excited when there's a little bit more of a mangle job on a car than because he goes, yeah, I'm not the one who brought it in, but yeah, you're the guy that went through the tree. You cut a tree down. And he's like, I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, man, I went out there and looked at it. It is amazing. He's like, it's awesome. He was very excited about the condition of my car. I'm like, I'm glad you.
Not for me.
I'm glad you're excited about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, get a ride back, find my earbud on the floor in the driver's side floor of the car, carefully reach my hand to where the windshield wedges with the dash to not get a bunch of broken glass in my fingers and whatnot to get my garage opener out. And then I was like, okay, now I'll just do one trip where I will get a ride home to dump this in the place and then grab my dog. And the second stop on the trip will be to the vet. So I do that. The guy's like, yeah, that's fine. So I do that. I go to the vet, drop her off. And they're like, which I thought I was just going to be, here you go. But they're like, okay, we'll get you back into a room so a technician can, make note of some things real quick. It'll be quick. I'm like, oh, okay. Luckily, I didn't plan for the driver to then bring me home. So he wasn't waiting for me. But so I'm just sitting there and all of a sudden 20 minutes goes by and I see people walking past the door here and there. And so I finally had to come out. I said, hey, I thought I was just dropping my dog off. And now I've been in this room for 20 minutes. Like, what is, oh my gosh, really? It's like, let me see. Let me go back and make sure there's someone coming in to check you out. Like they must have just forgotten about me back there. So,
and here I'm just things to do, people.
Yeah. And here I'm hoping she doesn't just make a mess while I'm sitting in there. But so they check her out and they're like, yeah, we'll have a look at her and then we'll call you and we find whatever we find, and then you can do it.
Cool. I'm glad I waited for that.
Yeah, that was worth it. So then I'm like, you know what? I don't know how long it'll be where they're looking at the dog. I still feel completely fine physically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna walk around. So I walked over to, this was in Edina, so I walked over to the Southdale Mall. It was not far because I was also hungry. I'm like, let me find some place to eat.
Right.
So I'm walking around the mall. I, have food and stuff. And then I call my ex-wife and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. So I know, but this is what happened. And so she's like, oh my God. She's like, are you okay? Do you need us to help with anything? Like, if we need to have Leo with us the whole week while you get things sorted out, we understand. We'll just let us know. And then we'll do that. I said, no, I want him to still be with me. So anyway, so hanging out the mall. And then I wasn't getting any call from the vet, so I'm like, okay, I'll just get a ride home now. So I pay
Right.
for another ride to go home, and then I'm just sitting at home going like, gosh, I really should start editing that episode, but I don't want to do any of that right now. So then I get a call from the vet, and they're like, "Oh, your dog's ready. We didn't find anything, no parasites or anything in your sample, so we're thinking we'll give you some like diarrhea medication, and then this special food, this soft food she can eat for a couple days, and then some probiotics." I'll say, "Well, actually, coincidentally, I already ordered some probiotics for her. They just got delivered yesterday, so I didn't even have to get sent home with that." All right, I'm like, all right. So then I get another ride to the vet to pick up the dog. I'm like, hey, do you mind? I'm just going to be going to get my dog, and then we're going to go back to my house. Oh, sure. He's like, what kind of, is it a big dog? I'm like, nope. She's very small. She's in her kennel. She's very friendly. I wasn't going to mention the diarrhea being the problem that she's at the vet for.
Right.
I didn't want him to be like, oh, but he was... Once he saw her, he kept looking back. He's like, oh, she's so cute. Oh, she's so friendly. She's so nice. And then I get, a ride home from him. And then I'm like, okay, now I should probably go to get looked at. My side hurts. I got some lower back pain. My legs got some like big scrapes on them. I think from maybe through my jeans. I think maybe it was from that lower airbag. There was like an airbag even down there by my legs.
Oh, okay.
Probably to protect every part of me.
Right.
So I go in and I go to the ER, and I think it's because I said I was in a car accident that they weren't like the quickest to bring me in, but
right.
You can expect at urgent care or maybe at an ER, if you're not sitting there with like a limb hanging off your body, or you're not having a heart attack or anything like major like that,
right.
You're going to be waiting a while. But I definitely got called back to the triage area before some people that came in before me. And so they checked me out. They said, oh, what happened? So eventually when I finally got called back to a room, I said I was having some like upper arm pain on my right arm. And I explained the whole lower back and right side, like when you put pressure kind of underneath the rib area, it's feeling pretty tender. No neck pain, no headaches, nothing like that. Full range of motion of everything. They did an x-ray on my arm, and they did a CT scan of my spine and my whole chest and abdomen area and stuff like that, which I've never had a CT scan before. I'm not sure if you've had a CT scan before.
Is that like you have to go into the... I'm thinking like
MRI. The MRI is the long, like you're in like a tanning bed almost, and you just can't move. The CT scan is sort of similar. It's just kind of like a ring. Yeah. That you just get pushed through and out of again a few times, depending on how many scans they need to do. Mm-hmm. But so I'm not sure if you've ever done that, but you have to take in that they call it the contrast dye.
Okay. I've never had to do one.
So I think I remember a long time ago, I think she had to like ingest, or she had to drink something for something like that. And it was terrible tasting. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking like, oh, great. I'm going to have to drink whatever this crap, disgusting dye is. But they had already drawn some blood from me and kept that IV in. So all I had to do was they just hooked me up and they just fed it right in that way. But they said, oh, this is completely normal, but this dye, when we inject it into you, it's going to make you feel really warm. And then it's also going to make you feel like you're peeing, but you're not peeing. It's just how it feels. It's just, I don't know why, but it's just how it feels. And so when they're scanning my spine, I can breathe as normal, and I didn't feel anything. So I was like, well, that's weird. I don't feel anything. Mm-hmm. They said I was going to feel warm and like I was wetting myself, and I don't feel any of that. So they did the whole scan of the spine. And then when it came to scanning my chest area and all that, that's when they put in, okay, we're going to put the dye in now. I'm like, oh, that's why. So they fed the dye, and I'm like, this whole area just got warm. Right. And I wouldn't necessarily say that it felt like I was peeing, but that area definitely started to feel also very warm. So I can understand why they would explain it that way, because obviously if you pee yourself, there's the warm pee that's now occupying that area. And so maybe that's why they describe it that way. But when when I went back to get x-rayed, when they just x-rayed my arm, they brought me back in a wheelchair. And I was like, I get it. Like, I don't really know if I have anything major going on inside yet. So I guess they need to be careful. But so then I kind of sat down. I had to lay down on this bed, but before I did that, I just sat down on the side of it. So like I'm facing this way and the bed is perpendicular to where I'm facing. So she was very insistent on like assisting me in like laying down, but I didn't know how she wanted me to lay down. It made it seem like she was just going to push me down onto the arm that they're x-raying, because I would have tipped down to my right and I would have been laying directly on the arm that they're x-raying. And so I kept like refusing and like resisting her, like gesturing me toward the bed. And I'm like, how are you wanting me to lay down? Right. She's like, oh, on your back. I'm like, okay, please say that, because now I know how to like maneuver myself so I'm laying down properly, because it seemed like you want me to lay directly on the arm that may or may not have a broken bone in it. Anyway, so that was just a little bit about that. But they said there's no signs of any fractures, there's no signs of any organ damage, there's no signs of any spine issues. They pretty much said you're good. So
yeah, I'm sure it's just bruising and just sore muscles from getting jarred, I'm sure. Yeah,
and like when I sleep, by the time I wake up, like that right side, like if I take a deep breath in or even like a moderately sized breath in, it's like it's painful. And so
could be some soft tissue damage.
Maybe I even called them today because they only x-rayed my arm. And so I said, I had to ask them, I said, will a CT scan detect a fracture? Or is that only to detect like tissue damage and not like a broken bone? And they said that it will also detect that. And they saw no signs of
they didn't see any
kind of fracturing.
They didn't see any sort of tissue damage either? They just said no organ damage.
Well, they said I'm all clear. They said you look good. Everything looks good. So I'm guessing that maybe I've got I could have bruised a rib or something.
You could have bruised a rib or like, so I had gotten soft tissue damage to my rib once from falling off my bike.
Oh, I don't think I remember that.
And, I was in utter pain for like 2 weeks. It took me like 2 weeks to like, if I took deep breaths, it hurt like a bitch. Like, sleeping was
so
tough.
Maybe I did then. Maybe I did bruise
soft tissue damage sucks.
Yeah, so I mean, they prescribed me this muscle relaxer if I feel like I need to take it, like if I'm having like muscle spasms.
They're nice.
But
muscle relaxers are nice.
I didn't feel it. I don't even have it. I never. I can go get it if I want, but I haven't experienced any kind of muscle spasm. So all I've been doing is occasionally taking some Tylenol or some Advil. Yeah, for the the pain. But
shit, from the looks of the car, man, you walked away from that and are incredibly lucky.
I don't doubt that. I'm like, this is insane. And we have a coworker that maybe a year ago now or so. Well, he's a former coworker. He did quit and get a different job within the last month or so. But he left some outing where some other coworkers were there, and he didn't get very far out of the parking lot and like crashed directly into a tree. But he probably wasn't going as fast as I was. I was imagining I was probably going somewhere in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range because of the road I was on. He like had brain bleeding and broken, like a whole bunch of broken bones and all this kind of stuff. Like he was in the hospital for weeks.
Yeah,
I just got out of my car and walked away.
Yeah.
So I don't know what. All I have right now is my legs. The little scrapes on my legs are looking pretty rough. But I also discovered that I've been very rough with them, like cleaning and scrubbing and stuff, which I should just leave them alone. And then my foot has this pretty dark purple like bruise on it, like just not on the heel of my foot, but like on the side of my foot, just above it on the inside.
Right.
I don't have any. There's no pain there, so I don't know if I need to go in.
Foot bruising sucks when you have because you have to walk around and then it's just
yeah. So
then you end up like adjusting the way you walk, which then makes other parts of your body hurt because you're fucking
because it's not moving the way it's. I know.
Yeah.
it's a very unnatural thing. But so I called them today to ask about, can CT scans detect fractures and my legs? How should I be dealing with these? How do I tell if they're infected or not? But then I asked about the bruise on my foot. I said, is this something I need to like have looked at? Because it's not painful. It seems like it maybe is getting a little bit bigger than it was, because it wasn't there at all initially. And now I notice it, and maybe the area looks a little bit swollen, but she did say like within 24 hours, you should probably go into like an urgent care since it's the weekend, and just to make sure it's nothing. So
yeah,
that's probably how I'll be spending at least part of tomorrow, is going into an urgent care and saying, hey, can you look at my foot? And I'll have them look at my legs too and see if if I've just made it worse than it was. But
so you said this happened. So this was last week now.
This was last Saturday night a week ago.
So just under a week ago now.
Yeah. Because today's what? Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's 4 p.m. Saturday. So you're 12 hours shy.
12 hours away from it being a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So
Still
now you're
no
just
car.
dealing. Yeah, I was gonna say now you're gonna deal with whatever the insurance is gonna say, and they're obviously gonna have to, if they haven't already had an adjuster go to look at it. Obviously, it's totaled.
It's totaled, and so it's totaled, and they already took it out of the tow place and brought it to their location to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
They've already pretty much assessed a value on the vehicle. They're just waiting, because I leased it. I didn't own it, so they're just now waiting to get like final numbers back from the lien holder or whatever, whoever the Toyota Financial, to determine what the payout amount would be for what was remaining on the lease. Because I was only halfway into the 3 year long lease.
So I was gonna say, I'm not sure how that works with leases, because you don't technically own the vehicle. You're just borrowing the vehicle basically from Toyota for a monthly payment.
So how it works is, the lease duration, would be, so for this time I did 3 years. And so you're agreeing to this payment for that length of time every month. So they take the amount that I've paid, and basically they take the amount that I would have had to have paid left. No, how does it work? That's not right.
I was going to say it's weird because...
I think they take the value of the vehicle and subtract what I'd paid already.
Okay.
During the lease, or during the time I did drive it, and then just say the difference is here's what you would owe left on the vehicle. And so what the insurance company does is goes to look at what dealerships are currently selling that exact type of car for, with similar or the exact amount of miles. And they go, okay, well, we pretty much average it out to be about this much. And as long as what this much is more than what you have to pay remaining on it with Toyota, then you'll walk away with some money. It's sounding like I will walk away with a very tiny amount of money.
Right.
But my goal is to get some slightly older used vehicle, not even necessarily through a dealership, maybe just some private seller, and have it. I know I will not have enough to just buy it outright, but I will hopefully be able to take out a very small car loan and have a very small car payment, that I could even continue to put the same amount I was paying toward it, to pay it off that much faster, and hopefully just at least for the time being, be without a car payment, which would be pretty nice. But
depending on the kind of car you can get, though, will you still be able to use that for Uber? Because I'm not sure what are Uber standards for, like, type of car you have to have, or do they have a year range and all that?
Yeah, it can't be. It can be 15 years old or newer, so it can't be anything over 15 years old. So I got to look at. 2010 is the oldest.
Which I would assume you'd try to be buying something at least a bit newer than that.
Yeah,
either way.
I've been looking at like 2014, 2015, 2013. Like I've been looking at that kind of range. But yeah, other than that, all you need to do is it needs to pass an inspection to prove that it's safe to drive and safe to have passengers in.
All
And
right.
so you take it to of any number of places that's on their list of companies that like auto companies that that offer to do like rideshare inspections.
Right.
And so that's it. So the main
You
thing
have
is
to
it
pay
just
for
has to
that
be.
inspection out of your pocket.
Yep, you pay it every year. You have to do it yearly too,
Yeah. Makes sense.
because anything can happen in a year. So
yeah.
like even if this car were drivable, I could technically try to Uber someone in that car because the inspection is still good until whatever. I forget when I did it.
I would assume Uber would know if you had an accident. Like I'm sure there's got to be some sort of reporting back to them if there was an accident with the vehicle. So
yeah, they got to have a way to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I might even be able to, depending on the age of the vehicle and everything, I might be able to drop it down to liability if it's not too expensive a car. I'll take a look at that.
I had to drop my car down to liability this year because it got sideswiped. And I didn't feel like paying a deductible to get it because it was a hit and run. So I didn't feel like paying my fucking deductible to get the minor cosmetic damage fixed. That a slight dent on the side and barely much damage. Like it's noticeable, but it was going to be almost $3,000 worth of damage. And I'm just like, I'm not paying. It's cosmetic. I'm like, I don't give a crap. It's just the car is 2014. I'm not going to spend that much money on just making it look nice again.
But why did you say you had to drop it to liability?
Because since I declined having declined having it fixed, my insurance said they would no longer cover full coverage on it anymore.
Oh, this is one thing that was interesting. So I've never had to deal with this before, but so there's your normal like auto adjuster, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to deal with a medical adjuster to go over if you're going to the hospital and if you're getting any kind of treatment plan or
okay. Yeah,
whatever.
I never had to deal with that.
Yeah, so they're like, where'd you go? Where were you seen? What do they do? And then they contact them to get the information because they can have everything billed to the insurance policy and not just sending medical bills billed to my medical insurance, I guess. So they said, did you miss any work? I said, well, I did not. I did skip work on Monday. I'm sure this is normally in the place of someone who's like in a hospital bed for like 2 weeks. And they're like, yeah, I wasn't able to work for 2 weeks or whatever, what have you. But yeah, I said, oh, I missed yesterday. So they calculated, minus that has like a $200 deductible, that medical part of it. Mm-hmm. So minus that, they were able to pay me out like $54 for economic loss for missing work a day. But then they said, "Oh,
thanks." That paid
so
for
this is interesting.
2 Uber rides.
This is one, So also currently I'm renting a car until next Wednesday. I just locked in a week with a rental car because I don't know how long it's going to take for the financial aspect of all this to be wrapped up. So anyway, I'm currently renting a car, which is partly why I'm like this weekend. I'm just not planning on going out and doing stuff. I don't want to do any unnecessary driving if I can avoid it.
Well, yeah, no unnecessary driving, and also it's like you just had to spend all that money on Ubers and all that other crap, and it's just like after that, it's just like, all right, I'm just gonna stay home this weekend.
Right. So they said, "Are you?" I talked to the medical adjuster, and he said, "Are you planning on seeing any further medical treatment or anything? Are you planning on getting seen again for anything?" I said, "Well, I don't know if what I'm experiencing right now doesn't go away or gets worse. I guess I'll plan to go back in." Mm-hmm. They said, "Okay, well we can put in for you to get we can send out a payment to you for $1,000 for that to start you off, and if you don't end up using it for anything medical, you're not obligated to pay it back. You can." He's like, "It's not up to me. You can, if you want to buy an Xbox or something with it, that's which is none of my business. I said, okay, but how will that affect my policy? Like if I'm just taking out, if you're just giving me $1,000
Right.
and I don't use it for anything. Well, I had to call someone else and ask because he's like, I don't know how it will affect your policy. I just offered you money.
Right.
So
it's like, I don't know. I don't care.
they said based on the fact that I'm already at a certain like amount that we're dealing with money wise, accepting this $1,000 isn't going to make any difference with how my premiums might increase in 6 months. But what he did say is if you do choose to just take the money and not use it toward anything medical as a result of the accident, like it's a direct result of the accident, then down the line, if you do seek anything, like if you need to go back in and have physical therapy or, anything that you can think of that you need to do as a result of this accident, that first $1,000 of those bills will be completely your responsibility. And then this policy
they've already given you the $1,000 that would
they've
cover
already
that.
given it to me. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure what to do. They sent me the link to like get the payout, but I haven't taken it. I didn't do anything with it. So, I mean, if I go in tomorrow, for example, and have them look at my foot and all that stuff, I'll have to just contact that person and say, here's what happened. What do I do? So we'll find out how that works. But I really hope early next week I'll find out what the full amount is that I'll be walking away with to be able to put toward whatever next car I decide to get. And there's this guy at work who works on cars, and so he came up to me all of a sudden. He's like, "Oh yeah, I heard something crazy happened in your car." Blah 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 blah. I said, "Yeah, so I'm going to look around whenever I figure this out and get something else." He's like, "Yeah, if you want something reliable, you should get a Toyota."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, really?"
Hilarious.
The funny thing, I said, I've pretty much, except for my very first car, almost exclusively driven Toyotas my entire driving history.
Right.
Aside from the occasional Honda Pilot. But yeah, Toyotas all around. So
they're good cars.
They are.
I've only ever had one Toyota. It was that little cruddy blue station wagon back in the day.
Oh yeah. The funny thing is, because I even said, well, what about like a Honda? He's like, Hondas are great, but he said Toyotas, as of like somewhere in the early 2000s, they started using a timing chain instead of a timing belt.
Yeah.
He said Hondas, for some reason, still use timing belts. So when you hit that, like, basically 120, 150 something thousand mile mark, you're probably going to be spending a good deal on replacing a timing belt if you get something that's not a Toyota that uses a timing chain.
And once a timing belt if your timing belt gets a little off, that
everything's
fucks
off.
Everything up. Yeah, that's
it's like when your foot's hurting, you got to change your walk.
Yep, it's I had a timing belt issue in my Saturn, I think, my Saturn Ion that I had. That engine exploded because the timing belt got a little off and ended up fucking that whole engine up. It was either that one or the station wagon, because I've had both of those Saturns. I had to have engines replaced in.
Well, my wonder is like there's no way that a timing chain will never fail. Like, how much is it to replace a timing chain?
I think I think the difference is like a belt can get off, off time, whereas a chain I don't think will get off time. If a chain breaks, your car just isn't running.
Right.
Versus
same thing with a belt.
A belt if the belt breaks, same thing. But if the belt slips or gets off time,
then you're in with
some
other problems.
I don't know enough
Your engine
about.
Explodes.
Yeah, I don't know enough about like timing belts and timing chains to know how accurate I am on that. But I just know that my timing belt was off slightly or something. The timing was off on the engine, and that's what ended up making it not explode, but yeah, it ended seizing up the engine, I believe, is what ended up happening, and it just screwed everything up. So yeah, it must have been in the station wagon, because the reason that the Ion's engine needed to get replaced is because it completely drained of oil, and then it fucking got all screwed up because it overheated and scrapped because it had no oil in the engine. Everything started getting torn up.
Right.
And then that one, once I got oil back in it, by the time I realized what the hell had happened, it was too late. The engine was destroyed.
My
fun stuff.
My chastity belt is off.
Like it's slightly off kilter.
Like it's not quite right. It's not working quite as well as it should.
It's not keeping you chaste at all. It's keeping you chafed more than chaste.
Yeah.
Did they make you take it off when you went to get the scan?
I said, no. Yeah. I said, you must remain. No.
I must remain chaste.
I must remain chaste.
This thing is a giant magnet. And if we turn this on while you're wearing that thing,
it will mess with our instruments.
It's going to, you're going to attach to the machine.
We're not going to be able to scan your C or your T.
Yeah. Only your P.
Oh, yeah. Also, when I got the CT scan, underneath like the little blanket they put on you, I had to pull my pants down to my knees for some reason.
No. I had to pull my pants down to my knees at the doctor recently too. So, did I tell you about that?
ENT visit?
My scan that I had? My when I got an ultrasound?
Did you tell me how that? Well, I think the last time you mentioned it,
I don't remember talked about it.
I feel like the last time you mentioned it, you were waiting to hear back on the result.
Did I talk about it on here? I don't remember.
I think so.
Well, okay. Long story short, I'll just kind of buzz through it here. I don't know if I've mentioned too much detail about it on here, because I think I had mentioned to you, like, maybe I'll talk about it on here at some point once I know what the hell's going on. But in September, found a lump in my testicle. Freaked me out a little bit. Went to the doctor. They said, it's probably a cyst. It's very common. I don't think it, it doesn't seem like it's cancerous, but, so you're obviously
like, please cease and desist.
Yeah. Remove this testicle. Decease it and dismember it.
Yeah.
And let it
have blood.
Let it have blood. So the first doctor said, seems like it's probably a cyst. If it's any sort of cancerous lump is usually within the testicle, not like on the outerish area where it seems like this was. Cool. Set up an appointment to go see a specialist. Finally went and saw the specialist in November. Because that's how long it fucking takes to do anything. I thought that was going to be the ultrasound. But nope, that was just me seeing the specialist to tell me the pretty much exact same thing the original doctor said, and then said, okay, now we'll set up the ultrasound. Okay, cool.
That's like when I thought I was going in for that cleaning, and they're like, no, you're just a new patient. So
yeah,
we're just telling you need one. I'm like, yeah, that's why I came.
Yeah, I already knew that I needed one.
Anyway, yeah. So then you set up the
yeah.
ultrasound.
So that doctor said pretty much the same thing. Most likely a cyst. I don't think it's cancer. Blah, blah, blah. Get the ultrasound just to be safe. I'm like, all right, fine. We'll get the ultrasound. Set up the appointment for the ultrasound. Finally got the ultrasound on January 17th, I think, because that was a whole nother wait and figure it out situation.
Yeah.
Got that. So that was me. Like, all right, lay on the bed, pull your pants down to your ankles, and basically just lay here with your dick out, and somebody's just gonna be, rubbing this thing all over your junk.
Is it that
cool.
goop that?
Oh yeah, They use the fucking
gel.
The gel. They gel you all up, and then he's like sitting there just moving around. Oh, got to move your penis out of the way.
He's like, probably, you bet you never heard that before.
Yeah. They're like, usually you've probably always just heard like, let's get it up in here. Never let's get it out of the way. It's always in the way on purpose. But, so did all that. And then, it was cysts, bunch of cysts. Yeah. Not a bunch? But there's like one big one and then like a small cluster.
It's like, we think this one's the leader.
A whole gang of them.
The others seem to be doing what he tells them.
So that was just kind of, fun. Then he's like, well, he's like, all right, I'm going to leave the room so you can get your pants, put your pants back on or whatever. Just use this towel to wipe yourself off. I'm like, cool. I'm just like wiping all this gel off myself. I mean,
come on. Just be like, clean me up. Like now you think I'd have this privacy? Like,
yeah.
I
think we're pretty well acquainted, sir.
Yeah. It's like, I think you should wipe me off with the towel, and then, you know what? You don't have to leave when I pull my pants up. We're on a first name basis.
Certain situations that I think I'm sure women probably feel the same way where you're just like, I'm kind of glad it was a male doctor. I felt like it would just, not that I don't trust a female doctor to do it. It's just, I feel it would be so much more awkward for me, I guess, not necessarily for the doctor because that's like what they do. So there's like, I've seen a million fucking penises. I don't care. But for the patient in that situation, I'm just like, it's just kind of an awkward. I mean, going to the doctor for anything like that is just awkward anyway. Like nobody goes into a situation like that. Like I'm totally comfortable with this, unless you're just,
a
hanging massive dong and you're just like, I like to show this to anybody.
If you are, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be comfortable just,
yeah, maybe not
showing it to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're like, oh, she's she's not that attractive.
I mean, it would maybe help. I think it would still be awkward either way. I've had to have like the hernia test done by a female doctor, and that was just kind of like, okay, this is great.
What's the hernia test?
Where they have to like turn your head and cough, where they have to like put their hand underneath they basically
That's a hernia test?
They cup your testicles because if you cough and your testicles don't move, there's, it's something like that where.
I don't know. Is that what the normal, like, is that like what the sports physical
Yeah, like
is?
a normal physical. Yeah. They test you for hernia.
See, I never
had to do that with the doctor for this. He had to sit there and like, I had to cough and he had to watch the way my testicles moved when I coughed to see if
would you think he would have gotten it down at eye level first? Like,
he kind of was. He was he was down in there looking at my stuff. I mean, he wasn't like this close or anything, but I mean, he was down there staring at me.
Can you hold on? I'm gonna get a high frame rate video camera and we're gonna
let me
slow this down.
Let me get this from all camera angles. I got about 7 different shots set up here.
Yeah, can you just like squat over this area here?
Can you just cough a ton for like the next 5 minutes, please? And then
can you like violently cough?
Yeah.
No, so
I'm gonna need you to bend over at the waist too while you do this for that camera in the back to see what your knock hole does during this.
Your knock hole?
It's a word I heard recently to describe a butthole.
Okay,
and I like it.
All right. No, because I was not in sports in school after 2nd grade, so I never had to have like a sports physical for school, and I still haven't had any type of procedure like that in my adult life, so I have not experienced the.
You should get a physical.
I mean, I should.
Yeah, you're definitely past when you should have gotten your first physical.
There might have been a time where we were sort of like, Sarah and I and Leo, I can't remember if he was born or not, but we were like establishing here's our regular doctor we're going to have. Right. This is going to be the doctor we go to. And so at that time, I might have actually had like a physical, but I can't say that with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
So
we're getting up there in age too. We should be going to the doctor for regular physicals
visits.
Things
but I may have had like the turn your head and cough thing once, but for some reason I don't remember it exactly if I did. But
it's a good time. I highly recommend it.
I mean, it always looked fun in the movies and the TV shows. So that's what I've been doing. Oh, so funny thing is, Tuesday morning, I think it was, or maybe it was Wednesday morning. I think it was Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Was the last Uber or Lyft ride I took because I was I had it scheduled to go get a rental car on Wednesday after work. But the same guy who took me to the vet and back, he picked me up. And he's like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh, he's like, how's your dog? I'm like, oh, she's doing better, this and that. And he goes, yeah, she's so lovely. She's so nice. He's like, yeah, there was one time, and I'm going to just throw out a trigger warning for any of you pit bull defenders. But he said he's just really nervous around dogs because a long time ago he got attacked by a pit bull and he was bit in the arm. And he showed me that he's got some permanent like marks on his arm from this dog. And that just a couple months ago, his brother was also attacked by not one, but 4 pit bulls at the same time.
4? Jesus Christ.
And they were chewing on his neck and his face and his arm. And he showed me pictures and it looked horrible. And Jesus. I'm like, so I can understand why you were maybe asking me some questions about my dog. And if it was a big dog. But yeah, he's not a fan of dogs, but he liked my dog.
Yeah. Well, your dog fits in a small bag, so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not quite as small as those, like, what do they call them? Teacup chihuahuas or whatever. Like, what are those? Not quite that small, but small.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'll explain. We're about to wrap this up. I'll say see you next Tuesday. That way, Matt and I will have a chance to go over what a cease and desist letter really is. And
I feel like we got it nailed in pretty hard. I mean, how can we explain it more than I've already explained what it is?
I'm not worrying about your explanation. My goal now is for you to walk away knowing what it really is. And that's not something we need to do on the show. I'm
good.
You want to continue living your life with this gross misunderstanding about what it means.
I think, agree to disagree, but I think
it's a delicious misunderstanding.
I think I got it figured out.
Okay.
There's not much in this world I don't know. I know that. I got it.
Is that right?
Yeah. Take it from me, friend of vampires.
If you have a question, complaint, or threat for Sean or Matt, you can reach us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, or Instagram at hsfamouspod, or you can email the show at highschoolfamous@gmail.com. No animals were pleasured during the making of this podcast, despite our best efforts. All hail our Lord and Savior.
Look, I will admit, unlike you, I don't socialize with a lot of vampires.